We have a definition, and they're the ones that are saying this definition applies to them. Well, if it means erasing a community because you have to target children, then damn right we ought to do it. The bill does not say no drag shows. It doesn't use the word drag. This bill deals with children.
Florida State Representative Randy Fine there vehemently talking about and supporting this bill he's a part of, which would, of course, ban these types of shows, not explicitly drag shows, as we'll find out is part of their language, but shows that exploit children, maybe are inappropriate for children to see, because that's the most important thing on the minds of these legislators. There's just one problem. There's only one particular kind of inappropriate show that he's against, or maybe it's just his wife. Because here she is. Her name is Wendy Fine. And here she is amongst a bunch of scantily clad women hanging out and I guess doing a burlesque show. This is for a charity, though, you guys. So don't get on them yet. But that charity is for children. Weird how that works. So as this whole thing is called a Sultry show that they're going in. There's a Spring Forward for Autism is what it is that they're doing. Here's some information from their site. This year's event to support our cause will be held on Saturday, the 15th of April at the Hilton Rialto, an evening filled with sultry performers, silent and live auctions, assorted hors d'oeuvres, and a DJ. They're going to have a cocktail reception. And at the back end, they said, join to support children in Brevard affected by autism spectrum disorder. So they're doing it for the kids. Here's a couple more pictures of what they're doing, because as Randy Fine may have pointed out at one point, I have no idea whether or not kids will be there. I've seen these events and there's no kids there. There's a blurred face of this small human being amongst these scantily clad women that I guess she's being indoctrinated, because the reason you have to blur her face is because she's a minor. And there's scantily clad women teaching her how to do sultry dances. This looks like groomer behavior to me. Or is it straight groomer behavior? So then it's okay. And then they just lump all the rest of their thoughts on other folks who are reading a damn book. Still, there's more. He's a sponsor of this event as well, so it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. This isn't a Wendy Fine problem. This is a Randy Fine problem. So some of these supporters include him as well, as they pointed out on their flyers. So one more part, because I mentioned how his bill isn't that specific about drag shows, which allows him to say, I'm not coming after drag shows, I'm coming after inappropriate behavior. The irony on this whole thing is he's talking about protecting the children, and this is some of the lines that make it so vague. A person may not knowingly admit a child to an adult live performance. That's part of this whole bill. Fine told Insider that he has been to the event several times and can't remember that a child ever being there. He said it isn't an inexpensive ticket, and it isn't billed as family friendly. And finishing, that said, whether this law passes or not, I would agree that children should not be invited to an event involving sultry performers. So, Jeff, we've got his opinion that children shouldn't be invited to the sultry performances, but he's got a bill that he's looking to turn into a law that would completely attack drag reading hours and things like that, based off of absolutely no evidence of any of this being any groomer behavior that they keep pushing, but it's just all about pushing this this indoctrination of, I think, of adults to think, oh my God, they're coming for the kids. Oh, but the scantily clad women with their asses out, that's okay.
I'm frustrated because the same ideology that tried to deny and withhold and push back on the advancement of Black people for so long is the same one that's doing this to the LGBTQ plus community. It's like they don't know who they are or who they were before this time right now. It's the same thing. They are denying the advancement of a specific community because they have nothing else to offer America, by the way. Like, this doesn't help anyone. This doesn't benefit anyone, make their lives better as Americans. So they're going after wedge issues, culture war issues, as it's called, in order to, I don't know, alienate a specific group of people for the sake of kids. It's always, when they want to, like, insert a wedge issue, they make it about kids, and they may claim that, oh, well, it doesn't mention, the bill doesn't mention drag shows, but I mean, it's all about the kids. You know how many times, and I'm sure you've gone through this as well, JR, you know how many times I've heard there aren't any racist laws because the laws don't mention Black people or brown people specifically? Like, we're still doing that. It's the same thing. Not that the struggle for the LGBTQ plus community and Black people is the exact same thing, but there are very similarities, there are parallels. And that is definitely one of them, to where you can lie about the intention of a bill and simply say, well, it does not say anything about that specifically, so that's not what we're talking about. And oh gosh, didn't we just talk about Governor Bill Lee out of Tennessee dressing in drag when he was in high school?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Three
this
others.
it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's just they don't know. Well, I was about to say they don't know it's the same thing. I'm sure they do, but they don't care about the hypocrisy or inconsistency. So I'll end it there.
Yeah, it had worked before. That's why they know it, and that's why they continue to come back to it. You talk about the recycled hatred and attacks towards certain groups that they can weaponize their followers against. But like, look at those black folks that come in to steal your property and your wives. Oh, look at those gay folks that come after your children. Have they said anything about the clergy? Have they said about the rampant nature of all these pastors and youth pastors and reverends and priests and all these folks that have been assaulting children for decades, many decades? They have nothing to say about that, because those types of groups help enhance their political careers. It's almost like they kind of don't care about any of this. And last thing here, you mentioned how people say race wasn't involved and explicitly mentioned in any of these bills. The ones that were, or laws that were explicitly mentioned of race and black folks, we don't teach about those because we can't. You got to make sure you don't hear about it, because there were.